The Newshour Special Edition.
Welcome back. Today, viewers, Naya Kashmir marks 4 years since the abrogation of Article 370. 4 years ago, it was truly integrated with the rest of Bharat. Today, the Tiranga flies high over the valley while the shadow of terror is being quashed. The daughters of Kashmir rejoice in the equal rights they enjoy, while those previously excluded can today call Kashmir their domicile. Watch how the fanaticism of the past has now been replaced with patriotic fervor as Naya Kashmir marches with Naya Josh.
अगर जमीन पे कहीं स्वर्ग है तो यही है, यही है, यही है। हम यस्तो, हम यस्तो, हम यस्तो।
This is for the first time that the inbound tourist season has been blooming up in the Kashmir Valley.
जो जंजीरें पिछले 70 वर्षों से हमें जकड़ के रखी थी, टूट चुकी हैं।
Now, after the abrogation of Article 370, Lal Chowk has been a key attraction in Srinagar city.
यहाँ हालत अच्छी है, सब कुछ अच्छी है।
पहले डर रहता था, अभी बिल्कुल शांति है।
Peace prevailing right now.
People on the ground are filled with optimism, positivity, but the ecosystem is feeling the heat that they have lashed out at the centre. PDP leaders, including Mehbooba Mufti, have been put in house arrest while NC office has been sealed. They now say that the centre has used brute force to subjugate democratic forces.
जो सरकारें बनी उनमें एक एडहॉकिज्म और एक वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट डेवलप हो गया कि पीढ़ी दर पीढ़ी इस अनुच्छेद की आड़ में अपने वंशवाद को आगे बढ़ाने का। मोदी जी ने संविधान की और लोकतंत्र की उस कुताही को दूर किया, लेकिन एक बड़े ही योजनाबद्ध तरीके के साथ जम्मू कश्मीर के विषय को लेकर के मोदी जी ने और उनके नेतृत्व की सरकार ने एक व्यवस्था स्थापित करने का काम किया है।
इसका पूरा श्रेय हमारे देश के आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी को जाता है, जिनके नेतृत्व में धारा 370 समाप्त हुई और देश का एक नया अध्याय प्रारंभ हुआ, जिस अध्याय की लोग देश की आज़ादी के कालखंड से लेकर लगातार इसका इंतजार करते रहे। इसलिए मैं आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का बहुत अभिनंदन करना चाहता हूं।
पत्थरबाजी के पिछले साल 1.5 साल से जम्मू में, मैं कहता हूं कश्मीर की बात नहीं, जम्मू में मिलिटेंसी एक्टिविटीज़ बढ़ रही हैं, चाहे वो रजौरी पुंछ हो, चाहे उधमपुर के ब्लास्ट हो। तो मैं समझता हूं कि जो दावे जो किए जाते थे तो उस पर सरकार विफल साबित हुई है। सरकार, मुझे नहीं लगता है कि आतंकवाद को कवर करने में सफल साबित हुई है। क्यों है किसी सरकार में होता है, तो मैं समझता हूं कि सरकार का फेलियर जरूर है।
कुछ महीनों में पूरे 9 साल हो जाएंगे जम्मू कश्मीर के इलेक्शन किए हुए। अभी तो दूसरे की तैयारी करनी चाहिए थी, लेकिन पहला ही इलेक्शन नहीं हो रहा। इसमें बहुत तकलीफें होंगी। सबसे पहले तो आर्टिकल 370 को ख़त्म करना ये सबसे अनफॉर्चुनेट चीज़ थी। तो 370 को हटाने से नुकसान ही नुकसान है।
हमारे लिए 5 अगस्त 2019 एक काला दिन था। हम आज भी मानते हैं वो काला दिन था। क्यों? दिन के उजाले में हमारी रियासत, जो 200 साल पुरानी रियासत थी, उसको ख़त्म किया गया, हमारी शनाख्त को ख़त्म किया गया। इसलिए मैंने समझा कि मैं अपने लोगों में आके बात करूं, लोगों से अपना दिल हल्का करूं, और मैंने लोगों से खुल के बात की।
मुझे लगता है एक फर्टाइल एक्सरसाइज थी, एक बहुत बड़ा धोखा था जम्मू कश्मीर के लोगों के साथ। 9 साल हो गए इलेक्शन होने को। हिंदुस्तान की हर स्टेट में इलेक्शन होता है, लेकिन यहां नहीं हो रहा है। हमारी हिस्टोरिकल स्टेट जो महाराजा ने हमको गिफ्ट में दे दी थी, उस स्टेट को यूटी बनाया गया, इसकी पावरें छीनी गई। यहां अब असेंबली का नामो निशान नहीं है कहीं।
Those who boycotted Panchayat polls today are talking about democracy. We'll talk about it. Let's open this up. Sanju Verma stays on, the national spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party. Lalit Ambardar, activist. Nikhil Jain, political analyst. Advocate Neelofar, leader of the National Conference, completes the panel. Neelofar ji, मेरा एक सवाल है, it's a straightforward question, ma'am. Should you be echoing what Pakistan is saying?
I'm least bothered what Pakistan is saying.
The reason I asked you that question because Pakistan is celebrating Black Day. NC, PDP are also calling it Black Day.
Of India. We should be talking about that.
How is it a Black Day? Can you explain
about
to
my rights vis-a-vis the constitution which has provided me?
No, your rights of what?
Provided by my
Which right has been taken away? The right to pelt stones at our forces?
By my own parliamentarians, yes.
Which right has been taken away, ma'am, by abrogation of Article 370? Every Friday it had become a routine for people to come out on streets and throw stones at our forces. That right has been taken away. Yes, I agree. That has been taken away and it will never be restored.
As a citizen of India, I have a right to question. The state cannot be degraded. The state cannot be degraded into UT. Give me one example where the state can be degraded. You can make UT a state, not a state as UT. Number one. Number two, the constitution which was provided by my own parliamentarians, which gave me right to have my own constitution, to have my own flag.
So the same parliament has ratified this move. Neelofar ji, don't forget that.
Without following the procedure, there is set procedure for each and everything. You cannot make.
But that is for the Supreme Court to look at it. The Supreme Court will look at it. It is hearing the case. But till such time, ma'am, how can we call it Black Day? That's my limited question.
Black Day in the sense because the constitution has been ruined.
What kind of rubbish?
When Mehbooba Mufti sheds tears for terrorists, what day is it?
That have been
White day, green day, red day, what day is it? When security forces are maligned, attacked, what day it is?
The reason no procedure was adopted as provided within the parameters of the constitution. What was done on 5th August 2019, that
Sanju
should be
Verma,
celebrated,
what your government
that
did
should not be
was
celebrated,
unconstitutional. That's the charge. Okay, let's hear from the BJP spokesperson. You've asked a question, Neelofar ji. Let's hear from the BJP spokesperson.
Okay, Pranesh, I need my time of 2 minutes. I did not heckle anybody. I will just read out what President Ramnath Kovind said when he decided to abrogate Article 370. In exercise of the powers conferred by Clause 3 of Article 370, read with Clause 1 of Article 370 of the Constitution of India, I, the President, on the recommendation of Parliament, is pleased to declare that as from 6th August 2019, all clauses of the said Article 370 shall cease to be operative. Now please Madam, shant ho jao. I did not heckle you. Pranesh, what kind of a debate is this? Why is the
Neelofar ji,
chup ho jaiye.
She was not interrupting, ma'am.
I did not heckle you. Now please keep quiet. Learn to listen.
Neelofar ji, you've made your point. Here the other side. नहीं तो आप बोलेंगे फिर Black Day debate पे बुलाते हैं, सुनते नहीं हैं.
हाँ, अभी मैं एक बात कहती हूँ. You don't need to be a lawyer to know this. Many constitutional experts have said this while arguing for the case for abrogation of Article 370, including big lawyers from the BJP. That is the lame argument we need to give. Saying Article 370 को abrogate करना जरूरी था is the fact that when it was introduced in the first place, when Article 35A was introduced in the first place, it was not done via a constitutional amendment under Article 368 of the Constitution. The then President Rajendra Prasad, it is said, inserted Article 35A just by way of an annexure. So, जब amendment हुआ ही नहीं as per Article 368 and Article 35A was inserted surreptitiously by way of an annexure, you coming here and sitting and saying the abrogation is unconstitutional, that does not hold water or hold any logic. Now, very quickly, in 20 seconds, I will tell you this. Under Part 21 of the Constitution, and I would urge people to educate themselves, Part 21 of the Constitution clearly says, Article 370, aka Article 35A, which is derived from Article 370, was always supposed to be temporary, transitional, and only a special provision. The fact that it was the courage of Narendra Modi
Article 370
abrogated it after more than 70 years, it should have
Okay.
Misquoting it.
Let me bring in Advocate Nikhil Jain. Nikhil, you had your hand up. Neelofar ji was talking about rights being taken away. Which are these rights that have been taken away?
The right of the people of Jammu and Kashmir to elect their own members of Legislative Assembly, to elect their own Chief Minister, to have their own state government. Whether the abrogation of Article 370 was with due process or not, I'll leave it to the Supreme Court to decide. But Sanju was just now reading about Article 370, subclause 3 of the Constitution, and saying that you don't need to be a lawyer to interpret it. I'm sorry, Sanju, you need to be a lawyer to interpret it, because the provision very clearly says, provided that the... Sanju, don't heckle in between, let me speak.
No, let him answer. Sanju Verma, please. Let Nikhil Jain answer, please. He was not interrupting when you made a point, Sanju Verma, please. Let Nikhil Jain answer. Sanju Verma, please.
Provided that the recommendation of the Constituent Assembly of the state shall be necessary, let alone a Constituent Assembly of the state. When Article 370 was abrogated on the 5th of August in 2019, there was no State Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir that was operational. It was entirely a unilateral decision that was taken by the BJP-led Lok Sabha and then passed by a voice vote without division in the Rajya Sabha. But let's forget about that. The most important point is that it has been over 5 years. There have been no state elections in Jammu and Kashmir. The people of the state have been living under constant lockdowns, constant military patrols, constant internet bans, and that is the problem today. Forget about 370. Let's talk about the people of Jammu and Kashmir. Let's talk about the Kashmiri Pandits. The Kashmiri Pandits are still free in the valley. And the 1989 exodus of the Kashmiri Pandits.
No, that's a bit rich. You know, that's a bit rich, Nikhil Jain. That's a bit rich, coming from, you know, what you just said about Kashmiri Pandits, because as far as that community is concerned, all political parties over the last 3 decades have failed them collectively. All political parties.
I will agree to that. I will agree to that.
Lalit
I will agree to that. And that includes the BJP.
Of course.
The BJP was the one that
it includes the BJP and the Congress. The Abdullahs, the PDP, everyone. They were part of that ecosystem that allowed atrocities on Hindus. And then they said that this was... Then they said that this was exodus. It was genocide. Lalit Ambardar coming in.
Yeah, Pranesh, you asked the National Conference representative about Pakistan. You know, there are 2 constituencies which are irked by abrogation of Article 370. In fact, 3. One is Pakistan. Second is so-called mainstream polity of Kashmir, which is a hardcore Islamist polity of Kashmir, and left liberal apologists of Kashmir Jihad in the rest of India. These 3 quarters are perturbed, they are irked because of 5th August 2019. And what happened on 5th of August 2019? It was a historical day. After hundreds of years, you could feel the presence of Sanatani civilizational ethos running the Indian affairs in Delhi. And Narendra Modi showed the political spine and abrogated this piece of constitution. This was a regressive piece of constitutional arrangement which saw what? Kashmir saw Islamic Fissiparous grow in Kashmir. It saw emergence of Kashmir Jihad, pan-Islam inspired terror-infested expressions Kashmir Jihad. It saw Kashmiri Hindu genocide. It saw discrimination against the nationals of Jammu and Ladakh. It saw discrimination against the women of Jammu and Kashmir. It saw discrimination against Valmiki Samaj. Let me remind all of these apologists here. If the J&K government then issued a certificate to the Valmiki Samaj, the word profession mentioned in that certificate, if I use it on live channel now, you and me can be prosecuted under CST law. This is what they call 1950, they call Article 370, and the refugees, Hindu and Sikhs who had taken refuge in Jammu and Kashmir after this bloody partition, and they were denied their rights as Indian citizens. So that is number 1. Number 2, Kashmiri Hindu genocide. Somebody was shedding crocodile tears on Kashmiri Hindus now. Listen, Kashmiri Hindu genocide began 32 years ago. All political parties rightly mentioned, you and the same panelists, that we have been used or were being used as cannon fodder in secularization of Kashmir Jihad. That's what I say. I'm speaking very cautiously about. I'm being optimistic about Article 370 removal on 5th August 2019. That it's not, Article 370 does not reverse Kashmir Jihad. It's a military problem. It has to be tackled militarily. As we talk, we have an encounter going on right in South Kashmir. So Kashmir Jihad is a military problem. It has to be tackled. The jihad wars, conflicts are tackled anywhere in the world. And please, Kashmir is not, it's not for the first time. We don't have had elections in Kashmir for the past 4 years. 90s, no, for 6 long years, we didn't have elections in Kashmir. Nobody was disturbed. Nobody talked about the rights of Kashmiri Hindus. What rights they are talking about? You want again, which is already on. You want that medieval. You know what was happening? It was a quasi-Islamic state, a mini Pakistan flourishing in Kashmir for the past 70 years. And she was talking about national conference. We'll not talk about. No, just a second.
No,
she talked about Pakistan. You know why? The sitting member of Parliament of National Conference in Parliament today, Lok Sabha, Akbar Lone, who is one of the petitioners against abrogation of Article 370, he raised Pakistan Zindabad slogans in live jail.
Now, Advocate Neelofar.
Reporters ask him outside, why did he do it?
Neelofar ji, is it not true? 1 minute, Neelofar ji. You know, Neelofar ji, 1 minute. Neelofar ji, let me ask you on the back of what Mr. Ambardar has said. Where do terrorists come from? नीलोफर जी अब आप देखिए
Ask her, did Akbar Lone raise Pakistan representative
Have you been rehabilitated? Have you been rehabilitated?
Ask her.
1 minute, ma'am. 1 minute. Mr. Ambardar, 1 minute. Let me ask a question. Neelofar ji, if you want to answer this question, Neelofar ji, you're not listening to the question because you have no answers. I know what is your answer, which is why I'm asking you this question. Where do terrorists come from? Do they fall from the moon? कहाँ से आते हैं मैम?
अरे कहाँ से आते हैं? आप तो वो क्वेश्चन मुझे पूछ रहे हैं कि आप कहाँ से आते हैं? I am not the spokesperson of anybody.
अरे इनके पड़ोस से आते हैं.
We are defending today.
नहीं कहाँ से आते हैं? You have a problem calling out Pakistan. You see, that's the problem. Where do terrorists come from? It's a simple question and it has only one answer. They come from Pakistan.
Equally, Ambardar is the citizen of India.
1 minute. 1 minute. Let's just do this with Neelofar ji. 1 minute. Sanju Verma, 1 minute.
Let us argue on Article 370.
I am arguing on Article 370, ma'am. I am arguing on Article 370. Answer 2 questions. Where do terrorists come from?
Jihad, yes or no? Do you support jihad, yes or no?
Why do
you support jihad, yes or no?
Who are just taking
Do you support jihad, yes or no? Don't indulge in what about them, madam? Do you support jihad, yes
No,
or
so
no?
you're justifying the... No, look at this. Mr. Ambardar, Sanju Verma, Nikhil Jain.
But you cannot justify those things which never...
You are justifying the youth picking up arms. You are justifying that, ma'am. You just justified. कहाँ से आते हैं ये लोग?
Don't create the wedge, please.
अच्छा एक बात बताइए, बुरहान वानी कौन था? बुरहान वानी यहाँ का लीडर था. बुरहान वानी यहाँ का लीडर था. There goes Neelofar ji. The mask has slipped. अकबर लोन पे तो मत जाइए. बुरहान वानी में ही हो गया सर.
Why the youth had chosen to be...
Madam, do you support jihad?
So, ma'am, in protest against abrogation of Article 370, why don't you pick up the Kalashnikov?
This is what you have given us. In the name of beautification, you are...
What are you saying, Neelofar ji? Please.
Money on projects which are already here.
Give me 10 seconds, please.
I am shocked. I am really shocked. She is saying the people who picked up arms did so because they were pushed by the government of India. Nikhil Jain, do you endorse that?
Can you give me 10 seconds?
1 minute, one at a time, please. One at a time, please. मैं आ रहा हूँ सबके पास. Nikhil Jain, do you endorse that? Yes or no question, please.
Nobody is justifying terrorism or youth picking up
arms. She just did.
That is wrong. I don't think she did.
She did.
Kept on heckling her.
Justified. And why should
Pranesh, I would ask you to ask her again without Sanju heckling her.
Sanju Verma, don't talk. Okay, let's do this on live TV once again. Sanju Verma, don't interrupt. ललित अंबरदार जी रुक जाइए, ये थोड़ा एक टेस्ट कर लेते हैं हम. निखिल आप भी सुनिएगा, लिसन टू दिस केयरफुली। नीलोफर जी, बुरहान वानी कौन था? बुरहान, अरे ललित अंबरदार, अभी सर सुनिए ना, सिंपल क्वेश्चन आंसर, 1 मिनट। ललित अंबरदार 1 मिनट। नीलोफर जी, who was Burhan Wani?
This is where your arguments start.
Who was Burhan Wani?
On the legal points.
मैम, बुरहान वानी कौन था?
On those points, on
नीलोफर जी, बुरहान वानी कौन था?
Justify करता ही नहीं आप।
बुरहान वानी कौन था? नीलोफर जी, who was बुरहान वानी? बना क्यों? निखिल, did you hear that? Nikhil, did you hear that? Sanju Verma is not talking. She is saying बुरहान वानी बना क्यों? बुरहान वानी लीडर था. She just said that.
नहीं उठाया हमारी कंट्री का।
Pranesh, Burhan Wani was a militant. I have no problem.
He was a terrorist. Burhan Wani was a terrorist. Burhan was a terrorist.
He was a terrorist. I have no problem accepting that. But the nuance point that she's
What is the nuance? What is the nuance? What is the nuance in picking up the gun and spilling Indian blood? Nikhil, please. What is the nuance in that?
I am concerned about Indian lives. No, Pranesh, I am concerned about Indian lives. If there is a terrorist, I want to figure out why did the terrorist come into being. And if it was the wrong policies of any government, we have to rectify them. If
oh my God, Nikhil, I can't believe it. I can't believe it, Nikhil. Nikhil, you're a lawyer of some repute.
Shame on you.
Nikhil, what are you doing? You know, Nikhil, you're an advocate. Please.
Pranesh, let me speak, please.
Nikhil, don't get carried away like this, Nikhil, please.
Shame on you.
Nikhil, please.
Pranesh, can I come in?
Please, Mr. Ambardar, please.
Come in, please.
Yes. Mr. Ambardar, Neelofar ji, or faders down, Mr. Ambardar.
Pranesh, listen.
This country belongs to we people also.
Let me tell you, there were two things I want to tell you, please. Pranesh is very important. One is about the constitutionality of it. I don't know about the law, but I know the Supreme Court of India is my court. It's India's court, Indian people's court. How can it entertain a petition which goes against the decision of 5th August 2019, which did what? It saw complete geopolitical integration of one part of India with the rest of India. It should have been rejected on day one. I can imagine this being discussed in Pakistani parliament. Number two, a temporary issue, a temporary arrangement was imposed on Indian state. It was a fraud committed because before removing it, they dissolved the Constituent Assembly of Jammu and Kashmir. And that was a fraud committed on us. Number three, listen, Kashmir Hindu genocide remains and it's on. It's not being recognized. Not one is being punished. Not one perpetrator of crime against humanity is being punished just because you are apologists there, and North Bloc is not doing anything to punish the culprits. I tell me.
Sorry to say, Sanju Verma, this is nothing but plain and simple terror apology.
No, please. Pranesh, please, yaar.
Okay, Pranesh, make your point. Mr. Ambardar is feeling passionately about it. Go ahead, sir, go ahead.
Pranesh, Inspector General of Police, Inspector General of Police S.M. Sahai, before his retirement, he was in the North Bloc in a very high central agency. He recalls in a video interview recently that he was called to attend to a terror attack, barbarity in the heart of Srinagar, where mother and daughter were both raped and they were shot in vagina. And he was nonchalantly trying to compare the Kashmir Islamist movement with the independence movement of India. Is that how North Bloc has to be addressing the Kashmir Jihad? No wonder not a single perpetrator of Jihad has been till now punished. Can you imagine? Mother and daughter raped and shot in vagina. And my India, Hindus especially, national of India, silent.
And even after...
Silent just because Hindu life do not...
Even after that, you have voices like these.
Sanju, you please take note of it. You take note of it.
She is taking notes, sir, responding to you. Sanju Verma.
Thank you. Yes. You know, Lalit Ambardar and me have been on a zillion debates on the Kashmir issue. I have tremendous respect for him. And while I agree with a lot of what he has said, I also very humbly would like to just say this, that after the abrogation of Article 370, and I agree that a lot more needs to be done. I'm not making any excuses about that, Lalit. But having said that, it is thanks to the abrogation of Article 370, which was so discriminatory, that today there is no difference between permanent residents and non-permanent residents. Anyone can go and buy property in Jammu and Kashmir. Even if a woman has married outside her community and outside of Kashmir, she does not lose the right to inheritance. Don't forget that as long as Article 370 was there, Article 1, Article 2 and Article 3 of the Constitution did not apply to Jammu and Kashmir. Today they do. The Indian Penal Code did not apply to Jammu and Kashmir. It was the Ranbir Penal Code, but today the Indian Penal Code applies to Jammu and Kashmir. Mr. Ambedkar, please, may I just finish? May I just finish? It is for the first time in the longest time. It is for the first time in the longest time that barely in the first 7 months of 2023, Pranesh, and note this very carefully, because Kashmir is by and large a tourist economy. 1.27 crore tourists have already visited Jammu and Kashmir. That number prior to abrogation was 10,123. Are you telling me the Kashmiri economy has not been vibrant after the abrogation? Then you are being blind and you are only driven by visceral hatred for Narendra
Because this
Modi.
ecosystem is missing the stone pelters in action. That's the problem.
10 seconds more. 890 central laws are today applicable to Jammu and Kashmir. 164 discriminatory laws have been repealed. 45% reduction in terror incidents. 69% reduction in stone pelting incidents. 53 large and small projects implemented. AIMS has come up or is about to come up in Jammu and Avanti.
Right, we have those number statistics running. Thanks for underlining that, Sanju Verma. But what do you do about this mindset that considers Burhan Wani as a leader? And, Nikhil, you really disappointed today by backing what Neelofar said. Mr. Ambedkar, I'm completely out of time. We'll have to take a short break, please. I'm sorry, we'll have to take a short break. Lots more lined up on the other side. Thanks for joining us on debate number 2.